call meeting of order, guys. All right, roll call.
Vote. Deers. Lutz. Here. Madison.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Listen, change.
We have just one change, right?
Well, I think we're gonna have a couple.
Okay, yeah. What else do we have for changes?
I have under 143 new business contract resignation of Tony Alcott, high school assistant track coach.
And then the one that we had talked about, Amber, I think we're gonna slide right in after 147. After we have the next meeting, we're gonna do a tour of the new construction of this building. And so since we'll have the whole board together, that tour, anybody that wants to come along is welcome. It'll just be kind of a nickel tour, and then we'll come back here and adjourn.
Other changes? Okay, so
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 138 is the waiver authorization. 139 is approving the minutes from April 14th, 2026. They were mailed out by Mary. Any changes? Not, we will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is 140, approve expenditures. We would be entertaining a motion to approve A through C unless there's something the board member wants to below.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 141, financial statements. Entertain a motion to approve A through K unless there's something the board members wish to pull out of that.
Motion to approve. Statements A through K.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 142 patrons and others. We have the Lead Community Center Foundation Board here tonight, I believe. I know I did get a text from Robin that she would not be able to be here, so you guys were coming in, we're gonna speak a little bit.
So I'm curious, did the letter go out to everybody or just to?
I know I got it. Did everybody get it or just me?
Okay.
I thought it was emailed to everybody.
My name is Ann Bentley, and I am a resident of Lead, 2.75 of a year now, so I'm transferred. But I joined a board, and the board is the Lead Community Center Foundation Board. Our goal is to figure out a way to build a new community center or to renovate the current community center that we have. And we are currently pursuing funding through congressionally directed spending with Senator Mike Brown's to the tune of $50 million to support construction of a new site. And we submitted this in early April, and we should hear back by the end of this year, not the fiscal budget year, but by the end of December on that. We were exploring rebuilding the site where the Hanley is. However, feedback from architects and design professionals indicated that the site constraints, topography, and the very significant issues with the building itself, that it would be probably equally cost-wise to redo the handling as it would be to build a new center. And if I'm misspeaking in any way, please, team, community center, back me up here. With that in mind, and recognizing that the proposed school land development is no longer moving forward, we wanted to specifically ask if the school district might be open to a conversation about whether a portion of the district land could potentially play a role in this project. At this stage, we are simply seeking to understand what may or may not be possible, along with considerations and requirements that would guide that decision. So our intention here tonight is simply dialogue. We want to ensure that we're being thoughtful and collaborative as we explore all of our options and engage community partners like the school district. So your perspective is important to us as we research the potential viable path forward. We also, of course, welcome deeper collaboration, inviting a member of the board to be on our board. But having a community center that we work together on would give shared access to students and staff. We could have coordinated use of the facilities such as the gymnasium or fitness area, specialized spaces, incorporating features that align the district needs, such as an athletic training area, golf simulator, driving range, or additional space for programming and events. And then, of course, we have so much space to serve as an emergency or community response facility. Any questions at this point?
Yes, the question I have is, and I realize we're just kind of in a dialogue stage right now, but when would you need either a commitment or a temp check by the board on this? Like, what's kind of your timeline? Are you looking for them to decide next month that, hey, we can do something, or are we looking at in the next year? I think that's gonna be an important question for these guys.
So I'll let Dennis speak a little bit more on this, but we also are needing to see if we get this funding. So that's part of the reason why this is preliminary, but we want to make sure we've explored all these options. And I'll introduce Dennis to you now. You probably all know him.
Mary, you want to?
No.
I have no idea who she is. No, I think a letter of understanding or a memorandum of understanding maybe would be sufficient. We didn't have to tie it in our funding request. We didn't have to have a specific area for it right away. But we did put that, we had that, we put land acquisition as an option. So they will understand that could possibly be. They did put no restrictions on exactly, are we tied to remodeling that building and building a new one in the spot, or if we have another area. So I'm just thinking, as we go on, and maybe a letter of understanding at your time would probably be sufficient.
So in like that letter potentially in the next 3 months?
Yeah.
3 months? Okay.
I think we'd be all right with that, yeah. And, I don't know, the area that we're looking at, I guess if you have any ideas where you think we're looking at, is right across from the fire hall. Here's the fire hall, here's the track. I think, Amber, you can help me out, maybe it's the track A or track 1, I can't remember no more.
Well, we didn't plat that problem.
No, but
It's part of the big boundary.
part of a big, yeah, but it's called part of track something.
Yeah, I think it's track A. Forget it, I'm not gonna think about it.
Part of the larger parcel.
Yeah, I think it's 40 acres, if I remember right. Yeah. But we thought that'd be an ideal spot right across the fire hall. Part of the game, as she had said, part of it's gonna be, we need what you call a refuge center. When you have another Atlas, we have no place for people to go. There's no building in town except for the fire hall and city hall with generators. At the new building, when we do that, we'll have be area for rescue and refuge, and for the elderly to have their airboats. So we have some place for people to go feed them, whatever we need to do there, plus the fire hall right across the way.
Yeah, I look at it as a young professional, right, in my fifties. But when I was moving here, I was looking at what the community had to offer. And I think it's a big selling point, particularly bringing teachers, administrators here to have a joint venture together where they have full access to a community center that has really anything anybody would ever want with regard to exercise, gathering spaces, and any other needs that the school district would be something we'd be absolutely open to talking about and hearing what you have to say. And nobody laughed at my young professional jokes. I'm
glad you clarified you weren't serious.
Thanks.
I
Better.
guess in my eyes, it looks like it's a good joint effort from the school district, where you guys are in charge of getting, kids and stuff like that. And the Family Center does that too. So it's kind of a community joint effort with you and us. So that's what we're trying to do here. And as you all well know, probably in the headlines, the Family Center is a big deal, conversation, but keep in mind, the community, our foundation is separate. So.
They have their own board. This board was really put together to look at the needs of the community for how we can move forward with a center that would.
So are you working in cooperation with Family Center, or is it, are you guys, are you trying to do something else?
No, working together.
I guess at this point, there's too much information for me to talk about it right now. I mean, there's, we got the letter, we didn't really know exactly what was being asked originally. I don't think if they didn't all get it, I don't know, it was about a month ago.
I was gonna say, after they started talking, I'm like, I remember this.
Yeah, a month ago. I think without having a more, I'm more of a, you ask what you need and then we'll make a decision based on that. I'm not one to really say, well, maybe we would do it or maybe we wouldn't, kind of a thing. I would want more concrete, what you're asking, what you need. So maybe that's kind of what I would do looking for. I mean, I can speak for myself. I deal in the public arena a lot. I don't put my name on something unless I can talk about it, intelligently and know what's going on and why and where and whatnot. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
So I know that when we had, and I think, I don't want to speak for the board, but I suspect that we have a number of people here who wouldn't necessarily have to be sold on the benefits of such a community center and that kind of thing. Like we've seen other communities where they are really a benefit to the community. I think that what could be a challenge here, and I'm just trying to be upfront with you, is I think several people here remember, like the last time we talked about doing some things with that land. As we kind of got through that process, we got quite a bit of pushback from the community. And granted, some of that had to do with the, appropriate use of tax dollars and that kind of thing. So it's not just about the land use, but I just want, I guess I would advise my board as we go forward with this, to be just kind of cognizant of how much headwind will we face. Because I think in theory, it sounds great to donate or make a deal on a little bit of land that's going to benefit the community. But then also they're going to have to weigh how much of a fight does this board want to take on for a project that's not really their deal, that kind of thing. So what I think would probably be beneficial for this board to make a decision on writing that letter, for instance, would be to somehow gauge the public perception of, are people going to be okay with this? Because ultimately, like every board, they answer to the public who elects them. And they're not a bunch of cowards. They're not going to just go whichever way the wind blows. But I think that could be something that should be factored in. I think we should going with our eyes wide open that how will we gauge that public perception?
Well, I think there's a big difference on, I mean, I've been a part of grants and other things, but if you need a letter of support from the school district saying, yes, we would support something like this, but maybe not financial support, I think that's a big difference versus asking for financial support of some way, whether it was donating land or it was, going into some sort of an agreement. I don't know exactly what you're asking for. I think that's where I'm still a little bit confused. If it's writing a letter of support for the grant that you're trying to get, that's a totally different question.
Yeah, I think we're just really interested in starting some dialogue about that land. And if it's an option for us to look at as a place that we could potentially build a new community center for Lead. And when you think about all of the changes that have happened in Lead over the last 20 years, and there's been a lot, and there's a lot of very passionate people on either side of the Hamley or do we need a community center? But what I can tell you is that we're taking people out of Lead and they're going down to Deadwood and Spearfish for facilities that we don't have here. And I'd like to keep people here. I moved here because I love this community and really want to see it thrive. It's a selling point for not just teachers, but for bringing in professionals to work at SERV or in other places that the community has and for work and all of them. And so it's a real benefit for this community. And when I think about optics and looking out, we want to make sure that whatever we do it with the idea in mind that this is something we're doing in collaboration with the school. And this is a joint effort to get this going.
Right, I think my question, just with that being said, would be, I can speak for myself, I don't think the school district would, I don't think I would support anything related to monetary support for a different, we have enough going on just within our own district dealing with funding. So if it's a funding source you're looking for, I think that's different than a public support source. And that's the part I don't, looking through your letter, I don't think it's very clear on what you're asking.
Do you, just to clarify, do you view like an in-kind donation of, say, land, real estate? And of course, that has real value. So when you say not a monetary
Yeah.
donation or commitment, does that include land?
Yeah, because I think, ultimately, getting support from the school district and having land donated to this project would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's gonna, for me, it's gonna depend on your funding source afterwards.
And that's,
That's
that's
really like
the
for
question
both
right now is that
funding.
$15 million
Yeah,
funding from,
from the, that you're asking for,
That's
yeah.
kind of a catch-22 as well, because I would imagine that at some point they're gonna wanna know, okay, what's your plan? And you're gonna either need a commitment from us, or you're gonna have to figure out something else as far as like, are we willing to donate 5 acres or whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever you're gonna come back and ask us for. But then too, I think for me, I wanna know beyond, we all understand the benefits of a community center, but I'd be curious to know what potentially would be in it for the school too. Beyond the basic community center. Like the Hamley Center does a wonderful job right now of accommodating, youth practices and things like that. We do sometimes run into those issues where we run out of space in our buildings with different things. I'd be curious to have that conversation, and that would be something down the road, but I'd kind of like to know what the district would be getting back in the event that they agreed to do this in-kind donation.
and I think that's a big part of what would be how we collaborate, would be that this would be space available to the school to use for those kinds of things. So not just selling the community center, but it's a place that the school can use for its different activities, sports, there's things outside of sports that use the space as well.
We would provide, because you guys, the school has lots of space for your kids to play basketball and stuff. Provide areas for kids to play basketball that can't be here on Saturdays or Sundays. or in the middle, in the evening. That's what, we would cover what you guys do not know, I guess.
And what, I mean, they'd be open during the day, but
Yeah.
preferably we'd like to have school.
It's all comes down to, we call it a community center, and that's what we want it to be, is a true community center. It's not just about kids. It's about the elderly, it's about middle age, it's about community center. The whole community, anybody can use that building. It's not just certain people, or that's why we call it a community center. When we go to Congress, and we went to the state, we made that perfectly clear. It's for the community. That's what your taxpayers' money is being spent for. And I guess if I was on your board, I understand totally about being on boards. Personally, I do. But, yeah, you have to explain it, but I guess if I was sitting out here and I'm not being here about it, you're doing it, something for the community, and that's easy to defend. To me, that seems to me it's easy to defend.
I also think working on talking points, providing talking points, so that you're able to speak intelligently when you're out in the community about the value of this and what it's doing for not just the community, but particularly when it opens up in the school and have access to it.
And the only thing I'd say, also would be, I mean, with the conversation we just had this last winter, one of the big things that got brought up is, well, it's your job to educate kids. You know, and so if we're gonna look at potentially being in support of something like this, that's my job, is to make sure that we're educating our kids and that we're doing the best that we can for our staff. So that's where I'm just curious, you know, I think it'd be something that, I mean, I think it'd be good to have more conversation. I don't think being that on it.
I think you're, yes, I agree on all those things.
And I think we're really looking to find out, is this something that you're willing to have a conversation about? And willing to kind of dig in a little deeper and explore what's possible together.
I think this is a good first step.
Yeah. I would say if it's something, you know, if you guys get a little bit further along in some of your detail stuff, I think it would be better off, me personally, I'd rather have a special meeting specifically with an item than, you know, to have it on a regular agenda. I think that would be better, because then you can have a little more dialogue just for that. Kind of like we did with the school land project.
And you had a meeting, maybe ask your people too.
Yeah.
Where you feel that, you know, community was better fit best and see what they say.
So are you having, do you have plans in the next few months to have some public meetings, some policy input meetings?
But one, not about, we can make plans about this, if that's what you're asking, yes. We can.
Yeah, I'll be blunt, like, it's not always about having those public meetings where we invite the public to come in and give their input, and then they kind of come in and they beat the heck out of you, and they say that our board members are not good people, and our superintendent's not a good guy, because you should be concentrating on educating kids, and this is ridiculous, and I mean, those just aren't a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so, if we could somehow gauge public interest without us having to have meetings and take the abuse, that'd be kind of fun.
Well, I think what it comes down to is, I think you have, all of us are willing to listen, be a part of the conversation, but we're not gonna be the headline of it. So if you guys get to a point that you have, you know, maybe you wanna have more of the meeting, or you wanna have more of that public input, I think we're all willing to participate, or maybe we have one board, you know, we could get to the point that we ask one board member to be kind of that person that goes to the
Yes,
meetings,
that's what we'd like.
and then kind of can come back and give an overall update to this board. I don't think we want to have all of us at a meeting.
No, and I think that,
That would be my.
Right,
To do a bunch of updates.
I
If that's what they're asking, still trying to figure out exactly.
So what and I said, you know, ultimately having a portion of that land donated towards this project.
But I don't,
And in turn, working on this collaboratively so that it becomes really a space that's open to the needs of the.
would this be something that maybe the land use committee, like, I don't think it's gonna change this, we're back to that. Okay, these two might be the land use. I do not want to take off on everyone.
Yeah, honestly, I think it kind of comes down to that, like, what I'm hearing the board say is they're willing to listen on this and willing to engage in some conversation. But two things, they're not necessarily willing to buck, public opinion on that. And they're not necessarily wanting to do the heavy lifting on it. Now, it may be a deal, it may very well be a deal where like, everybody in the community is like, heck yeah, let's do this. And we think the school land is a perfect spot for that. I mean, and if that's the way that comes back, then the board would take that information and make a decision. It may not be that. And I guess that's what I'm saying is I don't think the board is willing to fight a fight over this with the public. And I don't think they're wanting to do the heavy lifting to get there.
Yeah.
But I think they're certainly open to some dialogue, further dialogue.
I think
Does that sound correct, guys?
Yes.
I think that's absolutely so, really appreciate that, and, I think what I'm taking away from this is that we need to have some sort of a public meeting to, kind of gauge the level of heat in the community, and to hopefully, engage them in something they can be really excited about and proud of, which would be my goal to do. And then, I absolutely understand you not wanting to buck things, that doesn't put you in a good light, and we would never ask you to do that. We'll gauge things, and we'll do the bucking, and we might come back and say, y'all don't want to walk down this path. You know, so we can do that, and happily we'll do that, and then, hopefully have another conversation.
Yeah, I think we're all open for the conversation.
And I hope you can appreciate our candor, because sometimes the way boards go, you listen to something, you kind of shrug, and then that seems like it's agreement, and then maybe a couple months later, it's like, well, wait a minute, why didn't you raise these concerns before? So I think that was kind of what we had here, so. Yeah.
Thank you guys for.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to hear what we had to say too.
Yeah.
We're so excited about this, and, we just want the community to get on board. So thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
We would see a puppy today. Would have made this meeting way more fun. Oh, yeah.
I mean, if we need an example, I've got to go.
Well, but it's not.
Get it, just.
Not even-
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in middle school and high school SRO here. Each board member, I give you a copy of the proposal I gave to the City of Deadwood Police Department. It's not exactly what I gave them, but it's very similar. So with this, I'm not asking the school for anything but your blessing and support in this. I don't need any money. This would be, I want to make it clear, it's not going to be like a typical police canine. It's not going to be training bodies, drug detection, anything of that sort. I went to a training last summer in Billings, Montana, and the instructor spoke highly of their dog program in schools. He said that a kid will be destroying the room, he walks in the dog, it stops, just wants to pet the dog. He said it helped him build rapport relationships with students. You know, they want them to see the dog, they don't want to see him, that's fine. So in 2 weeks, I am going to get a new golden retriever puppy, a male, in Minnesota. And it's gonna be a puppy, it'll require training. So as the year comes, I mean, next school year, it's still gonna be the puppy stage. So as he grows older, the appropriate trainings will take place. I would like to get it American Kennel, Good Citizen certified, and you can look it up online, and if you have any questions on that, I can send you a link, but it's a pretty lengthy process where the owner leaves the room and the dog has to pretty much sit, not make any noise, so if it could pass that, I feel like it would be very good in the school. One thing I would do, if this does get approved, is I'd create a Google share document available to all staff to request time in elementary for me to bring the dog down for class period. I think the benefits are very high. It's a no cost investment to the school. The city of Deadwood supports it, the mayor, public safety commissioner,
all the other commissioners support this. So like I said, no cost to the school, just through support. I do have a current female golden retriever. She's 9. I mean, she's been nothing but good with our kids, very calm, no issues at all, very easy to train. I foresee, I mean, all dogs are different, but I foresee another golden retriever having a similar temperament. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
I have a comment, fully support. Yeah, I completely support it. You know, I've got my own golden retriever and, she used to go to work with me regularly. And, when she did go to work with me, and of course, I do have kids that are in those types of situations that come into my office. And it is amazing how they can, you know, these kids' energy will be up here and she can just immediately bring them down here. So I 100% support it.
Cool, thank you. And we would create a memorandum of understanding between myself and the city of Deadwood. It's my dog, the city of Deadwood's gonna help support me with it. We don't know what that looks like yet, so. We got a lot of backing behind it and very hopeful it does happen. Yeah, if anyone else has any questions, staff members, feel free to reach out.
You wouldn't consider a beagle? Untrainable.
So, if no one has anything else, thank you for hearing me out on it.
Is this not gonna be Pete?
I was thinking about digs, short for dig.
Digs, yeah.
We're okay with that.
No. You don't want to.
Thank you.
Thanks.
One question I have, I might be just being simple here, is the contract for the new choir teacher. So it's in the law. Okay. I'm not gonna read that list, just so everybody knows. I'll just, yeah. Can we just, I don't know, can we just approve it as printed without reading?
Except for you need that.
We'll make note of that resignation of Tony Altoff from
Question. Are we just not gonna have a dance program anymore or?
There was a, there was a meeting for dance and no students in the middle school or high school showed up. So it was more due to lack of interest that, yeah.
And I think also we could kind of see that waning a little bit. I mean, I think prior to last year, we didn't have it.
Mhm.
And then if you look at like, was it this school year, last school year, they were unable to go to some competitions because in theory they had enough. And then you get somebody ineligible or you get somebody sick and then it's just.
And that team was pretty heavy with seniors. I think there were 5 seniors that were part of the dance program this year. So with them graduating and not having as many, younger athletes interested.
So is this something that we could potentially bring back in the future if, say, more kids are interested?
Yeah, I think if there's interest, it could happen.
I can tell you that at the younger kids level, I think I've got 23 registered so far. And they're now letting 7th graders in, which is gonna then help, you know, because you can have 7th grade up in that, which then helps fill that gap, because that's been a lot of the problem that we've seen is that all of a sudden these kids get to middle school, they don't have the option, so they find something else and then you can't get it back.
Well, the seventh and 8th graders can be on the dance team.
Since your wife took over.
Yeah,
Yes.
and cheer.
Previous to that, we weren't allowed to though.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't allow it. And, he definitely saw that it caused programs.
So this was provided in the package. We have the addition.
Make a motion to approve the contract and resignation letter.
Second. Do we have a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is approve the administrator negotiated agreement.
keep our lost in the packet.
Motion to approve the administrator negotiated agreement.
Second.
Motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve the LEA negotiated agreement.
Certified staff.
Make a motion to approve the LEA negotiated agreement.
Second.
We have a motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is confidential employee negotiated agreement.
Make a motion to approve the confidential employee negotiated agreement.
Second.
We have a motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. The next item is to approve classified employee negotiated agreement.
Make a motion to approve the classified employee negotiated agreement.
Second.
We have a motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is to consider the South Dakota High School, what is it, association?
Activities.
Election.
We have Jeff Costers, Frederick Area School District, running unopposed.
So with that one, is there any concern with that one? No, if not.
No, that would be the
Motion,
and they vote.
we have to do a motion on that? Yeah. So we have,
I mean, you should.
so we need to make a motion. Vote for them on the election.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion in a second, all in favor?
I,
Okay. The next item is the same thing as the HLA amendment ballot.
Make a motion, to amend chapter 1, part 4. So yes,
Second.
So amendment 1.
Yes.
yeah, amendment 1.
I have a second.
We have a motion and a second. You can mark yes on that amendment ballot. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, I'll for the change order. Approve the change order 008. Who's?
There's another amendment.
Yeah, I didn't realize there are 3 amendments. There's a 1, 2, and a 3. Zach, do you know what 2 and 3 are? Put you on the spot.
No,
Do we have-
not off the top of those.
In the budget.
I had only seen 1. I didn't thought there was just.
The eligibility of the student is not affected by a transfer from a school that closes. And then the new language is transfer cannot occur until the date of the school closure for the end of school year would include the end of all SPHSAA state championships for the school year.
Eligibility terminates at graduation.
Well, amendment 2, right, it can now school's closing and they need to find a new place to go. And they'll do that once championships are completed. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask this. They're both related to high school association. Do you have any concerns or do you have a suggestion on any of them?
I don't have any concerns with them. I think we need to approve them. Yeah.
So you're recommending to vote yes on all the remaining amendments?
Yes.
So. If. That then would. Then their motion to vote yes on all 3. And then,
Sounds good.
I got one, I'm not sure about Lexi yet, she's speaking.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about amendment 3. So my understanding with amendment 3, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they graduate a semester, they can still participate in high school athletics and the second semester? Is that, am I reading that correctly?
You're on.
Yes. Until the first day of class of the second semester. Okay,
Right.
I guess I'd be okay with that. So, yes. I will amend my original motion.
Lux and Madsen amended their motion to mark yes on all three ballots. So all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, the motion would carry. Does that make sense? All right.
That's some beautiful wordsmanship.
You like that? So then now we're to the change order.
Yeah.
That one, the credit back to us on the blind in the office.
Yes, we like change orders that are credit.
It doesn't happen very often, so.
I'm not.
Can you make more of those?
Right.
Hey, that one was tough. And you know what, actually, like, I think, is that the one I signed twice?
Yes,
So I signed it and like, and then we got an email that said, hey, that amendment is for like, $2,055 rather than 2,000, or the change order. We need you to sign this. And I was like, I signed it once, like, I'm not too like eager to sign it again. I'm like, whatever, I'll get around to it whenever. Well, then Bill was like, well, yeah, we're getting $55 more back. Oh, we are. I'll sign that right now. Okay.
2007.
Make the motion to approve the change order.
Second.
Madsen, Lux, motion to approve, all in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries for that one. Item I is supplemental total budget.
Okay, so when we adopted the budget in July of last year, we did not have our Title II allocation. So they came out, so the Title II Part A allocation is $50,000 for salary, $3,825 for Social Security, and $3,000 for retirement, and then insurance is the $510. And we are going to supplement the budget for the longevity benefit for the retirees, and we had a resignation as well. So the general fund appropriation will be increased by $150,000 to $96,000. And funding for that is the Title III Part A of $57,335. And then the fund balance will cover the longevity benefit of $92,961. And then in the special education budget, physical therapy needs appropriation by $25,000 to cover the expenses. And then in the occupational therapy services, we got some more allocation in our IDEA funding. So the appropriation needs to be increased by 1,872, and the funding for that will come from the preschool 619 federal funding of 1,872. So the total appropriations in special ed is 26,872, and then major finance is the same.
Make a motion to adopt the supplemental budget.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
So that motion would carry. Okay. Not this one. The next item is present the FY 2023.
Ready. The pages on the right bottom hands. So pages 1 to 5 is the proposal budget. This is what will be published in the paper as the general fund, capital outlay, special ed, the Mary Benson State Fund, and then the Lucas Fund. The appropriations, page 1, and then page 2, and total appropriations, like you can find on page 3. General fund total budget is at 10,054,855. Capital outlay is 1,585,430. Special education expenditures are 2,594,431. The Jensen, that's our business class, 79,276. The enterprise, we don't have anything, that used to be a driver's ed fund. And then food service expenditures are 489,257. And then the needs of finance are on page 3, and 4, and then 5. So all over with the full year in detail, on pages 6 through 11. Okay, on page 2026-2027 annual revenue summary, it basically mimics pages 1 through 5. And then pages 8 through 10 is the expenditure side. And appropriation match with those, went through on pages 1 through 5. So if you want to turn to page 11, that is where it's basically a comparison of fiscal year 24 through 27. So on page 11, there's the expenditures and revenue for fiscal year 24-25. Those are actual, and then fiscal year 26 and 27 are estimates. So, in the general fund, the 2027 expenditures are 103,376 more than FY 26, and 568,683 more than 2025 actual expenditures. So in FY 2027, the expenditures reflects the increase in salary and benefits. We have 3% in salary, and then the increase in the health and the dental premium increases. We had a 45, this is what Chris Roberts is estimating, a 45% increase in work comp premium because of our 24-25 experience. And then a 6% increase in the property liability insurance. I think last year we had like 2% in them. So it's a better premium for our property liability insurance, not so much the work comp. And then the expenditures also reflect that 1 FTE for the alt school para, as well as online credit recovery for the alt school. And then we also had 2 positions that were not filled, resulting in a savings of approximately $185,000 in the general fund budget. Then the capital outlay expenditures for FY 27, the expenditures are about $2 million less than what the 2026 budget expenditures were, and 51,848 more than 2025 actual capital outlay expenditures. In the special education funds for FY 27, expenditures are 252,721 more than 2026 budgeted expenditures, and 427,000 more than 2025 actual expenditures. In 2027, we have more Class 8 out-of-district placements, as well as an increase in paraprofessionals. That do the one-on-one. So in the capital outlay fund, the projected 2027 revenues are 692,734 less than the 2026 budgeted revenue, and 774,383 less than 2025. And I'll go through that when we get to our capital outlay in more detail. And then in the special education fund, the projected 2027 revenues are 480,675 more than our 2026 budgeted revenues, and 514,473 more than 2025 actual revenues. Also on page 11 is the fund balance for each fund. For FY 24 and 25, they're actual, while 26 and 27 are based on projected budgets. The general fund balance for FY 25 was the 4,580,759. Our estimated fund balance for FY 26 will increase by about 63,000 in FY 26, and our general fund balance is estimated to decrease by 14,000 in FY 27.
I thought we talked about, using more of the fund balance. For FY 27.
Yeah, that's why it'll decrease by 14,000.
Okay, that wasn't the amount.
Well, based on the expenses that came in, that's what it is.
Now we have Senate Bill 245. Does this reflect that, or will that be the FY 28 budget that's in that?
The Senate Bill 245 is in general fund, and that will be effective in that one. The levies for January through June are reflected in the general fund.
So it's gonna take some effect in FY 27, but it will have a full effect in FY 20.
It's payable in 2027, like January through December.
Okay, thank you.
So the capital outlay fund balance for FY 25 was the 5.4, and the estimated capital outlay fund balance used to balance this year's budget is 1.2 million is what we'll use from the capital outlay fund balance. And the estimated fund balance for capital outlay in FY 27 is set to increase by 222,000. The special education fund balance for FY 25 was 876,581. The estimated FY 26 fund balance is 652,558. So we will use some of the fund balance to balance FY 26 special ed budget. And then the estimated FY 27 fund balance, it'll actually increase by $3,900. And the Mary Jensen fund balance for FY 27 is 132,174. And that's all found on page 11. So then on page 13 is our best valuation in the general fund. These are still preliminary, and these numbers that I got are unfactored. It came in like the middle of April, and I didn't get an update prior to this budget being introduced today. So based on the unfactored numbers, it looks like our valuation for 2027 will increase 6.36%. So the difference of the possible dollars raised in FY 26 and FY 27 is a minus 62,776. So then if you go to the next page on page 14, we are actually, based on this proposed budget, requesting less than the maximum levies. So with the valuation of the 2-3, we're requesting a 1.026 and A. The maximum is the 1.051. Do you want to say anything about?
Yeah, maybe a little bit here. So bear in mind, as Margie and I talked about this, that mill levy request, the second column over 2027 mill levy request, that is an approximation. That's my math checked by Margie. So if those numbers, and we agree that those are what they are, that's what we're predicting, that mill levy would request to get us to that 196,000, about 200,000 off the figure there. But I guess what I'm saying is if there's anything, if those numbers turn out to be a little inaccurate, that's not on Margie, that would be on me, but, those are estimates at this point. And those also get verified by the county auditor. You know, so,
So once we get our more solid valuations, I'll just call down to Brenda and say, this is what we want to raise, or this is what we want to request, and then she does her math on the levies and say, because she has to distribute it to know the different classifications.
To think about, we had kind of question this morning, so vice versa, they were looking at what they're going to do with the changes. Coming down, they're starting to get a little better picture of how that's going to be. So they did ask, get it, and I didn't want to be, but people well, actually, I let you know a little bit more what to add it, but I kind of just your quick memo that you sent out, I just kind of picked out like not to read for the kind of bad, but we just don't.
right, the bottom line, I can say this, I think even though like, the valuations are unfactored, and I'm predicting that when all the dust settles, we'll have a little higher percentage increase in our overall valuations. You know, owner occupied is gonna be capped at a 3% increase, but I just, those are conservative numbers, okay, they're there. Now, I can say this for a fact, if you are a homeowner in the Lead-Deadwood School District, your taxes will go down, and it'll be noticed. Because Senate Bill 245 took care of that owner occupied levy, didn't quite zero it out, but it came pretty close. Okay, and then also with our, lower request in capital outlay, we're not requesting the max there. Now I realize there's some increases in valuation, but the other thing is with the owner occupied, the 3% cap is new. So people are gonna see some relief in their tax bill. Now for commercial properties, again, I don't know what the valuations are gonna do. I know that with what we're proposing here, the school district is doing their part to keep it under control. Like you can honestly say to people, like if you have a business owner or somebody that owns rental property, whatever, and they confront you about their taxes, you can honestly say, well, we're requesting less than the max. And but it's a little bit of a moving target, figuring out exactly what's gonna happen with valuation. So we're doing our part to mitigate the increase in those other areas. But I'm confident owner occupied, you're gonna see a lesser tax bill in the school district.
That's a big equalization. Yeah,
But that doesn't So, they were just asking me, they are discussing if we're going to that. Trying to make sure to do that.
I was gonna say, okay.
So they're trying to decide when, how, what. So they were just figuring out what artists are specifically doing, like what are you doing? In more time. They were curious, so I did let them know. And as of right now. And I can connect you with they were having some pretty. They started a long discussion and they're just trying to figure it out, but they might have.
Yeah, and
And I know you right there, Bob.
yeah, Brent did send me an email today
Okay.
with updated ones, so I'll run those numbers and see where it's gonna be. But based on the numbers that she gave me in general fund, it's almost $187,000 that would be on the table. By request.
By requesting. Okay.
So then on page 15, 16, and 17 is basically our revenue for FY 26 and then FY 27 with all the different classifications. The bottom line is on page 21, 17. Our revenue in general fund is going to increase 25,248 over 6. Okay, so now we'll go into the capital outlay line, and that's going to be 18 through 26. Page 19 is the capital outlay. So in FY 26, you can see where we could request the 2.4. We requested less at the 2.3, and that was based on 637 students at the 3869. That's how they arrived at the 2.4. So for FY 27, the first student allocation increased by 2.5% or CPI. So that number is 3,966. And our number on the last Friday of September 2025 was 593. So the maximum request is the 2.3. And we're going to request the 1,051,051. Leaving about, 1.3 million of the savings to the taxpayers.
And again, that's preliminary, it could change by July. It kind of gives you a picture of it, and that's why I said, even for, across all categories, we're really working hard to mitigate the increases.
You said that 593.
The last Friday in September, it was 593. The September prior to that was 637.
The amount of boxes we have, for students lots of years, do we need to be more brutal on that? What I'm hearing is.
Dan, what are your kindergarten numbers looking like?
Smaller. 36.
So more frugal.
Well, maybe do we need to budget for less kids?
Well, that 593 number is already, that's what we're arguing.
This is what we have. So that's the number that we have.
That's a known
It's
number.
590. And then the last Friday in September of 2026, that will be the number that we'll use for next year.
Next.
And you don't think that number will be lower?
It could, yeah, it could very well be. But we'll know that number. That's the good thing about that. Yes, that enrollment for, capital outlay, that's something here.
Oh, that doesn't count for 2028. Okay, yes.
Yeah, we're using an FY 26 enrollment number for that makes sense.
Okay.
We're definitely getting that pattern. Where we were supposed to, where we knew we were going to come to, but we were seeing.
That's what we're getting enrollment.
Well,
Okay, so on page 20, the net reduction in revenue over 26 and 27 is 76. You can see at FY 26, the property tax was 2.3, and then at FY 27, it's the 1.6. So then on page 21 through 25, I'm not going to go through them, they're just kind of line by line, the expenditures and capital outlay. Capital outlay expenditures total of $1,585,400 for the research, like you said, it's about 2 million decrease from FY 26 because we did the those were budgets. Capital outlays. Now we're at the, are there any more something capital outlay? The special education budget, based on our expenditures going up. I know last year, you can see on page 28, our levy request, was 0.940. And then the 7 mil levy, I just put in the 1.150. With the increase of 6.36 in valuation, that may change based on once we get our final numbers. So that's 28, and then flip over to page 29. So the maximum levy that we can request in special ed, and we would still be able to access the extraordinary fund if we needed to, is 1.449. But or the proposed special education budget is the district requesting the 1.150. So the difference between the maximum and the request is saving the taxpayers $691,000 special ed fund. Like I said before, we had like an 800 fund balance in 25, 26, we've used some of that fund balance, and then in FY 27, it might increase like $3,400. Just on this level.
And what is that total fund? With special ed? The 176 and the FY 26 is expected to be 652, and then FY 27 is 656,000, so $3,400 more than what FY 26 budgeted. Keep in mind, special ed's a little bit different, because that, you know, to access the extraordinary cost account, if you had to do that, if you had a high need kid, it's gonna blow your budget, you have to request the maximum. So, like, right now, we wouldn't be eligible to, I'm just trying to, like, be transparent with the board and with the public on this. We wouldn't be eligible to go to the extraordinary cost fund because we don't levy the max. And so like some people, you know, a different philosophy would be, okay, we should always levy the max so that we can always access that extraordinary cost fund. But then what you're doing, you can see then we'd be building our fund balance by $500,000 to $700,000 every year. And I think in the past, we've had that discussion and made the decision that we're not gonna bankroll, we're not gonna stockpile the taxpayers' money. So just know if we ever did have a need that would blow our budget, where normally you apply to that extraordinary cost fund, we burn through that first, through that fund balance.
First.
Yes, so it doesn't put us in any worse position, but it leaves some money into our taxpayers' pockets. It's just kind of a philosophical thing that I want you guys to make a conscious decision on it. Choice A or choice B, I just want you to know what you're choosing. And this is what we've done in the past.
Do you have anything to say on the special budget?
Yeah, and you know, some kids can be very expensive, but the $600,000 is a pretty hefty fund balance, I believe. I mean, in case of something that was really catastrophic or something. I mean, we have a few kids right now that are in some spendy places. But again, we still have a pretty good fund balance right now where we're sitting pretty good, so.
Anybody else? Special ed? So now we're going to the Mary Johnson Estate. Basically, that was, we were gifted $700,000. And, so that's a business class at the high school. I believe 33, basically donation. Actually, to FY 23, that's when we were paid out totally. So the Digger Depot sales for 23 through 25 are actual, and then 26 and 27 are estimated. So I will go through that, you can see where the Digger Depot sales were for those years, 5 years. And then on page 34 is the actual expenses for the business class, 23, 24, 25 are actual. 26 and are estimates. So the 2026 budget for salary benefits And supplies is 119,986. Actually decreased in FY 27 to 102,275. The supplies, we were given the 52,000 is what we have budgeted in FY 26. But I bumped that down to 32,000. So actually there's a decrease in expenditure over 27 budget to 26. Last is our food service fund. Revenue is actually for FY 27, $12,000 over FY 26 budgeted revenue. And then the expenses. Well, actually, I should talk about our transfer from the general fund. FY 26, we budgeted 234,576. FY 27 is 230,130. I'm gonna wait to see how the expenses and revenue come in June, see if we need to do that, because in October, to hopefully avoid us being in excess cash again, I transferred the whole amount of the 234,576 of what was budgeted. So that 230 it might be lower, so we'll just have to kind of see how this year ends up.
But overall,
Yeah, like you say, it's kind of weird, but the revenue and the expenditures both increased by 12,000. This the expenses in 26 to 477, 227, and then an increase of about 12,000, and it's 489, 257. FY 27 food service expenditures.
I was doing some quick math during this. Am I understanding it based on the proposed budget? We're looking at a potential savings for the taxpayer of $1,939,861.
You're adding general,
General,
yeah. Like you said, we added those 1.3, almost 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I also want to know, if you have in front of you there, it's very detailed, a lot of work went into that. Margie went through a lot of work, and it wasn't always easy because it required you to keep that budget dialed in. It required administrators, myself included, getting her the information. That didn't always come in a timely manner, so it was a lot of work, a lot of frustration. She didn't complain, and here it is. So,
Well, you're welcome. I was trying to make it less work for Amanda, because every time you change the budget, then you have to, yeah.
so I appreciate you working. I think it's really know where it can be changed for the night. Under that. We don't do anything with that today.
No, it's
Just presenting it to us.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item on the list is. There's no piano.
There's some great stuff in there.
Sorry.
I thoroughly looked through that list.
I've looked through it too.
and that's why we do that. If you see something in there that you want to question, you got a chance either at this meeting, or you could give me a call, give Bill a call. Say, hey, what is this?
Anybody have any concerns?
I mean, the uniforms.
Not the uniforms, no. Not the fire dress or plastic thing, no, if you want to.
No, there's a pirate dress. There's some amazing things on there. Like some good vintage t-shirts.
Oh,
Okay.
just review.
Okay. We are on to the 2026 acceptable policy from technology.
Yep, no changes.
Like,
Oh, what a sweetheart you are.
I try.
we just need a motion. I can approve that.
Make that motion.
Okay. We're motion in second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next is to approve the plan for the Gold Prospect Academy. This was emailed out last week.
Yeah, so the board wanted, some numbers on some budget numbers on what the cost would be, and I would just note that, we're shooting a little high on that because those numbers include 12,000 for, an online platform. The quote we have right now from Ingenuity is like $7,500. But I asked Margie to leave that 12,000 in there because some of that is a, per student number. And so that gives us a little bit of cushion, but, looks like a pretty high initial cost if we're looking at an FTE as a classified employee, a para. But I think it's an investment in our future and, something that we all agree probably needs to happen, but, the board wanted to know specifically what those costs would be, so I shared that with you. I think it was operating off my memory right now, I think the para was like, 54,000 with all benefits, taxes, et cetera, plus the 12,000. That's what we're looking at as a total investment for next year. And the reason I'm asking for you to have a motion to approve that is that if we go ahead and move forward with that, if we have that board action, then we can go ahead and get started. We can let the kids know about it, let parents know about it, and we can start getting wheels turning on getting people to apply to the academy and all that. And some of that process will come into discussion when we go through the handbook. I know Amber had some suggested changes there on kind of more clearly defining the process, getting the forms in there, so we're going to approve that next month.
I have one good form.
Yeah, those are under development. I kind of figured it'd be okay to have those for next
Yeah,
month.
that's the only thing that when I read through it and said anything about the form, I was going to fill out the form. And what kind of form they would fill out, like what kind of information. That's all.
I think, like Dr. Christian, I went through it, I made comments, redlined it, and just sent them back to them, so that they knew going into it, kind of what some of the questions were. I think a lot of it was just more some explanation in grammatics, like just to make sure that before it goes out to the public, we want to make sure all the stuff is in there. So I think if you have anything else that you have questions or concerns on, or want to be put in there, just let it know before next meeting. Probably would be best.
Yeah, and so what I plan to do and we're kind of getting, and I apologize for the order of things on the agenda. I guess if, like right now, we're just doing a motion to move forward with the academy if we want to do that. And then further down, we've got actual handbook review. So I guess if we don't have a motion to move forward, the handbook review becomes moot and we don't have to discuss that when we get down to it. So.
That being said, I would make a motion for us to move forward with the GPA Gold Prospect Academy. I'm very proud of it. Sorry.
You should be.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second to move forward with the Gold Prospect Academy plan. All in favor? That motion carried. Next item is the said comprehensive plan that was presented.
Yeah, Jay, would you read that to us, please?
So, it was time to update a few things in it. And I knew that we were notified that we're having a special ed review in this coming December, and I did not want to leave that to the new special ed director to update or for the review team to look at and know that there was a few things that need to be updated and then get dinged on it and have her have to finish it up. So anyway, got that updated and it should be good to go.
Question? Motion. One second. And a second. to approve the said comprehensive plan? All in favor?
I,
Now, it looks like we have an updated policy, JHCD. I love these things, JHCD. That's
That's the effort deal.
administration thing.
And it looks like the big change there from Nurse Percy, her recommendation is we update our language to reflect what the changes in technology are gonna be. And so rather than auto injector, administration device. Not a huge change, but
This is first reading, we don't make them today, right?
right.
So next one is the one-to-one handbook. They're all first readings, so we aren't making any decisions on these today.
And only date changes on that.
And for us, right?
Yeah. Well, we had new computers last year, so we're all good.
Okay, the next item would be the elementary student handbook. Have anything you want to review for us?
Very minimal, just a small tweak in some student dress code. Just added a few things. We had fine tooth combed it last year. It's not a lot, but there's not a lot, just some date changes.
Questions from the board on any of the changes? That was pretty easy. Next one, middle school. Anything for you, Jay?
No, I handed it over to Zach. So.
Yeah, so
That's our.
the biggest thing you'll see, and it's reflected in the high school handbook as well, is that the middle school and high school are gonna run on the same schedule, kind of down to the minute. Middle school took the later lunch at noon, so we could get our core classes in the morning, in all three grade levels. And then we have some directed study options kind of right after that for 7th and 8th grade. And then 6th, 8th period will now be that study hall homeroom time. As an activities director, I like that idea, especially for middle school sports. Those all start at 4 o'clock. So instead of kids missing instructional time, even, during some home games now, they're missing study hall. So not as big of a deal there. Besides that, unless you guys have questions, there's really nothing too big that's changing.
All right, we have a few changes at the high school, in some of it, Zach kind of stole some of the thunder, but, again, we're trying to stay on the same type of schedule. So the high school master schedule, our Bell schedule is reflecting what he talked about. Our academic periods basically go periods 1 through 7. Period 8 ends up being what is like our study all time now that we're changing to digger time. So you'll see a change with our master schedule there. And instead of 5 minutes in between classes, which I think was kept, I don't know for sure, but I think it was kept mostly because we were on a block schedule at one point and then the 5 minutes was kept. And by working with my high school BLT and just my experience, the 5 minutes isn't really needed at all. So 3 minutes is, and it gets us on time on the same schedule as middle school. With us having shared staff, I think that's pretty crucial. They make it work right now pretty well. It's not like a big problem, but it's nice if we're on the same schedule with that shared staff. So that's one change. On page 8, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but I'm just gonna tell you. Page 8, ultimately, that is where we're with the dual enrollment classes. There's a section in there about kids that, which is typically juniors and seniors that are eligible for dual enrollment. We're just adding a little piece in there that if you are if you're getting dual enrollment, open campus time during that dual enrollment, we're just gonna say you need to have parental permission. So we're still going to allow juniors to have that time. Seniors, of course, have that time, but we're just gonna have parental permission. We'll have a form for those parents to make that determination. I feel pretty strongly, I think they should have that choice instead of just showing up or not showing up, so we're gonna get parental permission. We'll have places for them to go if parents choose not to let them, leave during dual enrollment time. So that's one, just kind of clean up in language, mostly with valedictorian and salutatorian and class rank, that was just making it a little bit more user friendly or worker friendly, I think there, so that's pretty minor, it doesn't really change anything. Then parent-teacher conference dates, just updates on that. And I just want to note on that Dr. Pearson and I have been talking is, I really want to do, even though our calendar does say we have parent-teacher conferences at the high school, they are not very effective in the traditional way that we do parent-teacher conferences right now. And I would like to, even though we're going to have dates in the handbook and on our calendar, I want to work with Dr. Pearson about, can we do something different at the high school level where they can, because the point of it is truly to engage with parents. And when you have an event, a set time, we don't get them to come. Maybe I think our spring conferences, I bet we were lucky to get to 20%, so anyway, their change of dates are in there reflective of the calendar, but I'm gonna continue to work with Dr. Pearson. And if we do anything different at the high school, we'll certainly let you know and communicate out to parents. The big change is graduation requirements. First of all, the wording that was in there, this is a good thing we were doing this because there was an error that said that we only had allowed 4 elective credits. And so that only got us to 20.5 credits. And by state law, you have to be at 22. And by Lead-Deadwood high school requirements, you have to be at 22 at the very minimum. So that was a good catch. So it updated the elective credits to be 5.5 instead of just 4. So that's a kind of simple change, but a pretty big one. It could be where maybe you get a parent coming through and it says I only need 4, so now in practice, Mrs. Brightsman and I think counselor before her, ultimately does talk about 5.5, but for somehow it was missed within the graduation requirements of the handbook. But the big change with graduation requirements, I think I've already front loaded this, is we're asking, starting with the class of 2030, which is this year's 8th graders, as they come into high school, they still have to have 3 credits of social studies, but we're saying have a full year of world history. Right now, you have a full year of American history, 2 semesters of American history, a semester of government. The other 1.5 credits are your elective option in social studies. And I work pretty strongly with our high school social studies department, and that's what we came up is wanting them to have world history at that sophomore level. So starting with this year's cohort of freshmen when they come in, or this year's 8th graders, when they come into their freshman year, that they'll be the first group to have world history as a requirement as a sophomore. And we'll try to fit it into that sophomore year. Freshman year gets to be a lot. There's a lot of things that are already taken, so we want that requirement there. So that's one change within the graduation requirements. And the other one is, it's kind of a wording. To me, I think it's a little bit of an oversight, and I've seen this in a couple other schools I've been at. When you have kids take algebra 1 at 8th grade, and your graduation requirements just say you need 3 credits of math, we get some kids that will come through and stop taking math after their sophomore year. They do algebra 1, probably geometry freshman year, and algebra 2 their sophomore year, and then they can. Not many do, but they could just be done taking math after their sophomore year. And I, as a person who's been high school principal for a long time, I don't think that's right. I don't think we want that at all. I think the intention of the South Dakota minimum requirements, and I think us as Lead-Deadwood would be, we want kids to truly take 3 years of math while in high school. So I want to add wording into the math requirements, basically saying all need 3 credits, 3 math credits, all need to be taken while in high school, starting with the class of 2031. Now, the idea there is I would want to actually start a little earlier, but our 8th graders, even at this point, if they took algebra 1 and they ultimately were planning on that, now we changed the goalposts on them. So if you took algebra 1 as an 8th grader and you only thought you needed 3 years of math and you wanted to stop after your 10th grade year, now the goalposts have been moved. So I think we got to start with the cohort of 2031. So this year's seventh graders, understanding as they come in, you take algebra one, great, we want to challenge you, but it's going to be a math credit you can have, and it'll count in your math credits as you come into high school, but you have to take 3 years of math while you're in high school. So I just wanted to explain that. This is not me unilaterally talking about this. I've worked with math teachers about this as well. And so they're with that. So any questions about any of those graduation requirements?
Just for clarification with what you said regarding the math stuff. So the eighth graders that are going into freshmen, they will be held to this or they will not?
They will not. Not,
The seventh graders.
the first cohort will be the class of 2000.
As those seventh graders select their courses for eighth grade, if they're gonna make that decision whether or not to take algebra one, they're doing that with the knowledge that I still need 3 credits or 3 years of math in high school. And really the intent of algebra one in the eighth grade is an accelerated option. It is really kind of nonsensical to be accelerated as an eighth grader and then drop out of math after your sophomore year. That's kind of counterintuitive, but we want to create a situation where people are making those decisions with all the information. What do you think, Lexi? What do you got?
I think it should start with class 2030. I think that you're exactly right, but that's the entire point, is it's an accelerated program. If you are an eighth grader taking algebra one, then I think you should still be held to the same standard. You clearly just something that you're capable.
But the struggle with that is those parents were not told that when they started that class.
Right.
So this would be a change to what they were.
In theory, they've already laid out a plan.
Yeah.
And for most, it would be kind of irrelevant. I think most are not gonna stop after the sophomore year.
I mean, we're gonna still coach them, the parents and those kids, that you still should take another math.
Philosophically, I agree with you. But the reason Mike's presenting that this way is because it's just maybe a fight we don't need to fight.
Get that, but I mean, I've also seen where goalposts have been changed while kids are in high school, and you know, you could be a junior thinking that you're gonna get to graduate at the end of your junior year, then you find out you gotta go the first semester of your senior year in order to graduate. This is an old example, personal example, that I'm like, well, that changed, you know, it was less than a year's notice. You know, so I mean, it's not unheard of that, you know, the goalpost changes, and I think that ultimately it's for the benefit of the students. And again, you are working with those kids that are already high achieving, and I'd rather see us encourage that to continue. Which, I mean, I think you already are, but I prefer to see it at the class of 2030, but it's also not the only one that.
Well, and it's something too that you guys can chew on for a moment. And, you know, like. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to start it now, you know, but again, I think we gotta give kids and families a chance to adjust if there is that kind of change, so. But we can still coach them. Like if you are one of those students who took algebra one and you want to be done after that sophomore year, very likely if you took algebra one in eighth grade, you're probably on a college university track. You should not take math your junior year.
Well,
You know, so we gotta coach them on that. Right, and that's a factor that would be part of the coaching is like, okay, whether or not you're gonna go to college university, if you are and you're gonna do the ACT, not taking a math class your junior year is not going to help you taking your ACT, which most take their junior. So. But any other questions about it? All right, we're moving, there's after that, I think it's on page 12, there's a part in there about student classifications. Okay, we don't really need it in the handbook because mostly it affects seniors. Okay, I'm gonna be a 5th year senior, I'm not enough. Instead of telling a kid, sorry, you don't meet the credits, we're gonna count you as a junior, it's kind of demoralizing. You know, so we're ultimately, the real conversations we're already having anyway is like, you don't have enough credits to graduate. Whether we call you a junior or a senior or not is kind of irrelevant. it does become a kind of a factor, let's say, are you going to prom or, it does, but those are minimally happening to the point where you just have conversations with those kids as the principal and as the counselor. So I don't think that is needed. So ultimately, I just felt, talking with Mrs. Brightsman as well, and my high school building leadership team, we didn't see really a big need for that to be there any longer. So, this is kind of a big one, but it's more of a removal, but I think I've already told you, we're going away from PBIS rewards at the high school. Okay, doesn't mean we don't believe in some philosophical things with PBIS, but we're not gonna use the PBIS reward system, awarding points, have the online platform where we do referrals and points through that. So we are ultimately kind of shifting gears. There's not gonna be anything in the handbook about it, but it's gonna still teach positive reinforcement. It's still gonna teach digger pride, and kind of develop a positive character and overall, organization skills and things like that. But PBIS rewards part is going out of the handbook. Semester test dates are just being updated and changed. That's not a real big thing, but just, it does get affected by our, bell schedule, master schedule, because now study hall's moved to the end. So our last day of semester test ends up being one test that last day rather than two. Changing study hall name, we're gonna call it Digger Time. So instead of study hall, we're calling it Digger Time. We're gonna use it still mostly for an academic study period, but we're also going to try to teach and reinforce some lessons about character and organization and things like that, with our students. So to some degree, it'll be a little bit of a homeroom environment as well, not only just study hall. Consequences for tardies, I just updated that. Just to reflect kind of how I want that progression to look. Same thing with cell phones and electronic devices, just updated the consequences to have that spelled out within that policy. Senior open campus, again, we're gonna still have it, but ultimately it's just, again, that's on page 20. That's just having parental permission as well. You're gonna qualify for open campus, but parents are gonna yep, my kid can have open campus during lunch or when they have an open class time, including dual enrollment. And then again, for seniors. So that was clarification there. Just adding lunch detention, it wasn't worded in there. That's one consequence, I think, that can be pretty helpful at the high school as well. I think it's utilized at the middle school quite a bit. It's pretty powerful at the high school too, so I just wanted some wording in there that could be a tool we would use as well. Cabin, throughout the handbook, it has cabin in quotation marks and all caps. I'm not sure why. I've asked around. I don't know why, but it's just cleaning that up. We're gonna still call it the cabin, but capital C ABIN. So does anybody know where that came from? Is it an acronym for something?
It was, but I can't remember.
So we're just calling it cabin with the capital C instead of all caps. And then activities, attendance policy, it's really just kind of a clarification update because it still had wording about blocks from the block schedule. So you had to be here at least for a block of time before, let's say, a home event, or, 2 blocks of time before a home event, 1 block of time for an away event. I just changed it to periods. So if it said block, I said 2 periods. If it said 2 blocks, 4 periods. I think it was just an oversight. I'm guessing, but so I included that there, and then I'm removing the 6 through 12 discipline guidelines. I don't think it's in the middle school handbook. So why do we have it in the high school handbook? So I think there are consequences that are already kind of spelled out that I talked about, but then there's gonna be ones that these large decisions that we make as principals, whether somebody's gonna have this kind of consequence based on a fight, based on a use of alcohol, whatever, those things are gonna have consequences without a guideline rubric that is there. All right, sorry.
Okay. Anything, activity and that?
Yeah, the big thing that you'll see in here is with transportation. So I'm working with Dr. Pearson now and we have a form developed that gives permission for our students to drive themselves to home events off campus, so like the football field in Deadwood, if they were to practice there, or if the golf team practices at Tomahawk. So instead of using the one transportation form we have now as a catch-all, it's just kind of more geared towards those locations. And then really using the one we have now, for things like if a student athlete has a doctor's appointment and they're going to have to be, transported by their parents or, you know, someone else at that time. Really big one. Other than that, small stuff.
Questions between now and then, I can reach out to that.
I'll try to be brief as well. But, I'm gonna operate under the assumption that you've read this as presented. And so I'll mention, you know, that Amber pointed out a few things that we should clean up, and I agree. And first of all, anywhere like where it says form provided and that's highlighted, those forms are under development. And so those will be a part of that. One of the suggestions Amber made was, to have like some clearer language on the admission process, like here are the steps, you know, pretty much lays out here what we're looking for. But then I think a little bit of a concise direction on how that will work. The other thing is there are some things where like there's one place where it says to apply, and of course, this thing was created in stages, and so there's some cleanup that needs to happen where it says, application to superintendent, and then there are other times where it refers to the academy director and superintendent, like we're gonna clean up that language. And just also, so you guys know, and I'll have this in the handbook next time, and I guess this is something where if you have an issue with it, you can kind of let me know, but I was gonna designate myself as the academy director. And my reasoning for that, you know, I think it needs to be an administrator. I would like to have a little separation from the high school principal. Because with some of these kids, there's an existing relationship or there's maybe a little bit of a track record. And so I think it would be helpful to have another person, that then they can talk to and go through that application process. And then the other thing, just kind of selfishly, I don't know, I just feel some ownership with this and I kind of want to make it my baby next year. And so you guys are okay with that? I'm not teaching any classes next year. So might drive a bus here or there, but this will fit right in.
Me, you and I actually had this conversation that, you know, I think you take on a lot of extra rules and, I also want to be, careful with your time, I guess, be respectful of your time. However, I mean, I agree with you and I like that, you know, you want to take that ownership. I guess my only concern is, I already know you've done a lot.
And, you know, and I appreciate that, but I think all of our people do, like, if we're in a position where with our decline enrollment, we're asking some of our staff to take on more, some other administrators to take on more. I think it just kind of fits right in with that. So, any questions that you guys saw as we go through this? We'll have a cleaner version coming out in the next couple of weeks, so you have a little more time to deal with it rather than just with the board packet.
The only question I have with any of these, I brought it up before, is the school song. So it says blue and white, and it says lead high, not LDHS. Is there
It's correct on that.
I know, and trust me, I've been looking at it all night, and it's.
So in the handbook, should we change the handbook to reflect that? No, we're
I would say so. At very least more than gold.
Sure.
Yeah, so,
So before we take action on the handbooks next month, we need to change it to say maroon and gold.
Just make it match that one. That's the one that we had agreed to when we had those meeting.
Yep.
The school board agreed to that.
you're gonna have some old lead people, fire,
Yeah.
Tell them on top of it. I am one of those. I'm the gold.
I live in Deadwood, so
Okay, next item is updated financial institution signature.
So this is basically a request from the bank for Center State, because I told her, you know, that I would be coming on June 30th from the finance manager, and she said, well, would you give us a copy of the board minutes, removing me June 30th and adding the new business manager July 1st, so we just need something like that.
Something reflected in the minutes, so we need a motion and a second to sadly remove Archie. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
We really don't want to do that, but I mean, we will let you.
and just to be clear, as Mary's reporting that, it's to remove Margie from the signature cards and add Amanda as of July.
You're fine,
I will be.
you're fine, it's,
I'll ask, if I need to.
Yep.
That's fine.
I think they just said Amanda's the only one that has to provide it.
Okay, so correspondence, we had letters in there, just thank you letters, and they also got passed around, I don't know where they're at. They're in there, but there was copies from Kimball, Lori, Aberley, Margie Van, high school staff, and the elementary staff. Which was very nice, to have all to write them. Administrative report. Anything?
little bit, okay, real quick, just an update, you know, the running joke is the completion date on this middle school project. And we, you know, last month we said, hey, can we have the meeting in the middle school? Will we be done by then? Like, yes, we'll be done way before then. Well, here we are. They're still finishing up a few things, but we are gonna take a tour. It is substantially complete. You can get a vision of it. The office is complete. So we're still looking in the next couple of weeks for them to land the plane. And it's, you know, so it's like a lot of little detail stuff, some stuff with the subcontractors, but you know, like the Seco guys weren't here the last 2 days. They didn't have anybody on site. Oh, you don't get a lot done if you're not here, so that's kind of where it's at. And anyway, and then you'll see too, and I'll point this out. We'll talk about some of the cabinet work that's going into that CTE space. Some of that's being done by our capable maintenance staff. And so kind of some neat ideas, I think neat ideas on what we're doing for tables and so forth. So on the 14th, the South Dakota Special Olympics will be in town, and they want to do a lap around from the high school down through down like the Home State Visitor Center. And Todd Bradwish, you know Todd Bradwish, remember Todd Bradwish? Yeah, he sends us email, and I'm like, heck yeah, I'll call Todd Bradwish, you know. So anyway, somebody, Joey and I went to high school. Anyways, he's the director of South Dakota Special Olympics. It's gonna be difficult for us to have kids go run with them and stuff, because like the track meet, there's a golf meet, like a lot of our kids are gonna be gone that day. But some of the high school kids that will be here, Mr. Embrock talked about maybe at 2:30, we could have them come out and wave as the Special Olympics troop goes by. So that's kind of neat. Another kind of cool thing, the Black Hills Motorcycle Show is coming up on the 23rd. And you may say, why do we care about that? Well, Jason has, very generously offered to donate, some of the proceeds towards, some needs that the school district has. And I think Margie, like, we met with him a couple months ago, and I think that's gonna be primarily targeted on, lunches, like people unable to pay, lunch bills and that kind of thing. So we're gonna focus some effort there, and it's gonna be, I think, a substantial donation. In addition to that, we get to have a booth at the Black Hills Motorcycle Show. We're not gonna have a bike there, we're just gonna have some digger gear, on a table on display from the Digger Depot being sold there. So I think a wristband to the show is like $5. So if you want to swing by, it'd be a great thing to support. And then finally, there was some talk over the last several months about some plans on, beefing up our music program and doing this grand idea of a music academy. And we kind of pumped the brakes on doing a big press release and that kind of thing. So we want to make sure we're ready. And it's a good thing we did pump the brakes because, our high school choir teacher is, going to wall. And our high school, middle school band teacher, has left. So we got 2 new people there, but the good news is, we went down and had a meeting with Alexis Hoff, in the elementary, and she's still very excited to do some of the foundational pieces, that we're talking about for the music academy. So it's not a music academy per se, but really some exciting things, opportunities to be happening for our kids, next year in the elementary. One will be a kind of special choir that they can do. Is that before or after school? Dan, do you remember?
Yeah, the choir would be after school.
And then I think the other one was either before or after school, kind of an instrumental thing.
Yep.
And then possibly, gearing up with 5th grade band. And then also some individual piano lessons, that she's gonna do that will be free to the kids. And so, yeah, those are some really cool things, foundational things that will kind of get us ready to take the next step in our music program, and also to, I think, build excitement in the music program. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Van Bipper.
Yep. So, I always start with the enrollment. We're down a few kids from the beginning of the year. 267 to 259, that includes the early childhood. We've lost a few to moving away and things like that. Couple of homeschool, requests. State testing, 100% of the testing is in. Not all the scores are back yet, but we're holding strong in some areas. 3rd and 5th grade, all scores are in and they're above the state average in ELA. Science is holding strong for the 2nd year in a row at 41%, waiting for that state average to drop a little. It's at 42%. Last year we beat the state average for the first time ever. This year and it was 43. So this year we're at 41. So, I mean, that's a difference of 1 kid. So looking good there. Scores are still coming in. 5th grade math, 4th grade ELA is rising for our score. So that's really good. Of course, I'm a numbers nerd, so it's like watching the stock market, for me, I'm like, yes, more scores are in. Let's calculate. 4th quarter awards just got through today. Those were a big hit and success. Man, there's just a lot of things that are just kind of in the works right now, like end of the year field trips. The kids are super excited for it. Our, PTO supports that really well, and we're so grateful for that. Gearing up for our summer school stuff. We're getting our final numbers of kids in. That's looking very strong. We're losing Bree Cook, who has done summer school for a few years. But Mary Claire Nichols is going to take over that position with the younger group. Then we got some summer training plans. We have our new ELA curriculum that is in and coming in soon. We have scheduled a July 27th training day for teachers and pairs to come in and in-person training. To get that ball rolling before school starts. So, and then Guiding Coalition, my leadership team, planning a work day on the 25th to look at, making sure we start off the year right and keep going strong. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yes.
What's the math scores we're looking at?
Math scores are down a little. We have, well, I was very hopeful because we were super excited about our new math curriculum. You know, I talked to Dr. Pearson about this and, you know, it might just take a little bit of time. Sixth grade's holding strong though, so they're doing well with the new curriculum. I think it's just it's a new K-8 program, so getting it ingrained and going from there. So not at the state average or where I'd like them, but third grade was pretty close.
And I do know that the kids, at least some of the kids, my kids, enjoy the new curriculum.
Excellent.
Like it a lot better.
Yeah, and I think one of the pieces of it that we need to maybe utilize a little bit more is that home connection piece. It's just, I mean, there's QR codes. It's so easy. We'll see what we can do to kind of bolster that a little bit.
Yeah, just to quickly talk about the math curriculum too, I just am really excited about, and we talked a little bit about it in our principals meeting and admin meeting, but I think the need for the students that we have in our school district to have more direct instruction. And I think the math curriculum at the elementary kind of didn't address that. And I just think direct instruction is so important. We hire good people, good teachers to do it. And I think it's really important that we continue on that path. So I think we're on the right path there. Just like Mr. Van Bibber said, there's a lot of things going on. Just want to highlight, the sixth graders were invited by the city to plant the Liberty tree for Arbor Day on May 6th. And to celebrate the anniversaries of our country, 250th anniversary and the 150th anniversary of Lead. So that was exciting for our sixth graders. Last week, our school counselor, Ms. Price, had a lot of activities to highlight Mental Health Awareness Week. Lots of things were going on every week, some dress up things every day, and she had some good themes. Kids were excited about it. Tomorrow, always a really fantastic opportunity for our seventh grade girls. Will be going to Women in Science at Black Hills State tomorrow, and it's such a good opportunity for them to get exposed to those STEM areas, and really excited about that for our girls. May 20th, as we kind of wind down the school year, our student council has been really active this year, and I'm really proud of Mr. Paulson and Dr. Watkins. They've really got some really go-getters in our school as representatives. And they've got some activities on the 20th in the afternoon, a barbecue, a color run. And then if you want to come up and watch them throw water balloons at me, you sure can at Mountaintop at 3 o'clock. So it's always really exciting for me. And May 21st is our 8th grade awards assembly that we, I just really cherish that day. It's really a good rite of passage for our 8th graders to have that ceremony for them. So anyway, if you can make it, fantastic. Thank you.
And that's at the auditorium.
That will be in the auditorium.
Fifth grade's going up tomorrow. To
Yeah.
middle school, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the 5th grade will come up and do their transition meeting tomorrow. Thanks for bringing that up, Lexi. And Zach will be kind of leading that as the new principal. So, and I don't know if Zach kind of, part of the middle school, what we're doing or what's going to happen. I don't know if you kind of want to talk just a little bit about the class structure and stuff and put you on the spot. I'm sorry, dude, but teachers teaching a little bit more, some classes. I don't know if you want to share that with the board.
Yeah, so one thing that we're looking at adding for next year would be another class period taught by our teachers. Kind of a more ELA enrichment period, grouped with kids of similar abilities. It'd be kind of like a title structure in an elementary school, and then a STEM class that would be team taught by the science and math teachers of that grade level. And again, would be kind of a title structure to where they're teaching students of a similar that are kind of in a similar place. It'd be low class numbers, really hands-on. We're trying to make that STEM class as project-based as we can and as engaging as possible. A lot of the new stuff up in the CTE room is what we're kind of hoping to base that around. So.
Yep.
No, thank you.
Remember?
High school handbook stuff covered a lot of stuff, but I do want to hit a couple highlights. We have our ACT scores in. As you know, this is the first year we had to do the ACT. It's for the state required testing. I'm really proud of our kids that we do have the data, and I would hope to maybe be able to share that data with you where we kind of fit with our composite and math. But I don't have it in a presentation form to you, but maybe in June I can have that data for you. But overall, the kids did well. We have a couple high flyers out of that group and there's some kids that scored pretty low with the ACT as we kind of expected. That's kind of one of the knocks on state testing, or even if you do the ACT for state testing, that some of those kids don't care about the ACT, or they're not planning on going to college, but that is the test, but all in all, I was pretty proud of that group. They were pretty compliant, willing to go in, take it serious. They did a good job overall, and our scores are pretty reflective of that. So, next year, kind of staying along the math theme, we're offering an AP advanced placement calculus class for our kids. Again, this is the cohort of kids, this group of kids that took the ACT, our juniors. There's some high flyers in there, and we're going to be able to offer an AP calc class. So I'm excited about that. They're not super high numbers, but I like the idea of that we're not just talking about low math classes to just help our struggling math students, but we want to challenge our high level math kids too. So Miss Stith is looking to teach that class, and so I'm kind of excited about that. They just took kids to the math contest yesterday. I don't have results. I talked to Mrs. Campbell very quickly, and first thing out of her mouth was a darn St. Thomas More, because I think they did really well, and I think our kids did well, but I think they stole a little limelight from some of our kids. But I know her and Miss Stith, Mrs. Campbell and Mrs. Stith are proud of that group. It's kind of funny. I mean, they got a math club at the high school that Mrs. Stith and Miss Campbell meets with those kids. They don't meet every week. It's probably every other week. Of course, it was more often as they were getting close to the math contest, because that's what they were doing. And then, I mean, I'm talking almost 30 kids in that room that are, juniors, all the way pretty much sophomores, all the way to seniors. I think they're sprinkling some freshmen in there too. So that's pretty good. I like seeing everybody nerd out on the math. So that's pretty cool. Future, we did a transition night, again, not knowing what we've done in the past, but I think that's a good way to get the 8th grade parents together to make sure they understand. You got 8th grade parents who've been through it. They got older, there's older kids and siblings that whatever, this is old hat, we know what's going on. And then this is my first kid going to high school, so it's just a way to help with the transition, make sure that, and we're going to continue to do that and build on that and make it better. I think even doing it for the first time, we understood some things maybe we should have done earlier, or maybe we could have done better with bringing those parents in. But it was positive overall bringing those parents in. Class day is on Friday at 8:35. So if you want to be around for that, seniors, mostly seniors, getting recognized for things there. So that would be my first class day. And then of course, graduation is on Sunday at 2 p.m. in Gym 1. So everybody's welcome to come and see our class of 2026 graduate. So pretty exciting. I already talked to you about the high school master schedule and some changes there, but my goal has been ever since I've been here is I want by the end of this year, by the end, before kids leave, they have an idea of what their schedule is. I don't know if we're gonna get there, but we're gonna try, and even teachers, that this is their teaching load, so they have a general idea, understanding there probably may be some minor changes over the summer, but that's the goal. I think we're on track to getting there, and I hope we do. So, internships, I just want to mention this, Amy Todd, I'm pretty proud of her that she's really taken on this responsibility to, we kind of were building the airplane that was just flying this year, that we had some kids that were interested in doing internships. We ended up having nine seniors this year that did internships, and that was cool. Great experiences overall with a lot of them, and we're wanting to build onto that next year. Next year, I think we got at least 15 kids signed up, and we're mostly working with Emma, forgetting Emma's last name. What? Emma Garvin from the Lead-Deadwood Economic Development. Her and Amy have built a pretty good collaboration as well with me. So we're just gonna keep growing the internships. Those work experiences are pretty huge, especially I think as an experience for that senior year. Dual enrollments, just again, those keep growing. We got about 25 kids that are registered to do dual enrollment classes for this next year. So great opportunities. We want to take kids to take advantage of what we offer on our schedule, but dual credit enrollment options are a great thing for our kids to be able to take a high school credit and take something maybe we don't offer, or even something they can do to challenge themselves and bank some credits for when they enroll into college and university. I talked about PBIS, that shift from PBIS. We're really gonna talk a lot about Digger Pride and what it means and how we're gonna transition to that. And then lastly, just a reminder, we have a new band instructor. Her name's Grace Kinsley. So she's gonna be here on Monday to just to kind of transition in. And then Ward Johnston, as you just approved tonight, will be our new vocal 6 through 12 vocal teacher. We're excited about him as well, and get him transitioned as quickly as possible. We don't have anybody for the CTE position yet, so that's kind of sitting on hold there, but we're turning over all kinds of rocks to see what we can do there. And then just lastly, a reminder, this was approved a long time ago, but Christine Webb is going to take over for Lori. It's going to be a pretty sad office that Lori is leaving that place, because she's a mainstay there, no doubt. But Christine has been able to come over and start transitioning, working under Lori's wing, so that's been awesome. So I think we'll be in good hands. We'll certainly miss Lori, but Christine's going to transition. So.
Thank you. So public forum, do you have anything? Nothing. Okay, so we don't have anything for public forum. The next meeting will be Tuesday, June 9th at 5:30 back over in the high school boardroom. And then we're gonna go do a little bit of. Okay.
Yeah. I'll be tour guide Barbie here.
So if you want to join us, you can. If you don't,